Whew. Good morning, my name is John, welcome to my channel. This is my very first video here on a little YouTube adventure. So today is the 9th of January 2025. Today is my birthday. Yay, happy birthday to me. I'm 47 years old. I've never been one of those people that thought, I've got to hide my age, I'm in my late 40s, I'm in my mid 40s. I'm 47 as of today. And I'm out for a little stroll, and I thought I'd share a couple of thoughts. I thought, I've been inspired by people posting videos of their lives and their adventures, and I thought, you know, I fancy tapping into a little bit of that. I like a bit of the creative process, and it feels like a nice outlet. So, let me tell you a little story. Let me take you on a little journey, right? Last year, 2024, the year started January, and going to work, living life, coming out of Christmas, I felt my health just start to deteriorate a little bit. I was having chest pains, starting to feel a little bit nervous about it all, and so I decided I would go visit the doctors, which turned into the hospital. Had some checks done on my heart, ECGs, and it turns out I was diagnosed with pericarditis. So at 46, what I thought was pretty healthy, I've now got this issue that I need to take care of. I had 2 weeks off of work to kind of recuperate, and onto medication from the doctors with no real idea as to how long that would last, but just to try and take care of myself as we do in our slightly older years, right? And so 2 weeks off, and then suddenly I find myself straight back into working life and what that entails. So I work in sales. I've worked in sales pretty much all my life, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a second, alright? But the year progressed a little bit, and in May I found myself facing something that I just really wasn't prepared for, and that was the sudden illness, quick decline of my father. And so that was quite an interesting time to manage. I'm out making this video, right, and I'm just about to pass my very first person, what I'm not used to doing.
Morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Yeah,
hello.
Well.
Alright, so that's my first YouTuber experience of walking along the canal here. If you're curious, I'm in the Midlands of England. It's a beautiful frosty morning. The canal behind me there is actually frozen. Just kind of cool. So yeah, my father's in hospital. He's rushed in, and I get that call that we probably all dread, right? He's not well. So I've got to get there. So he's in Scotland, I'm in England. I drive. And fortunately, we have a number of days. I've been able to spend some time together. Managed to see my brother and sister get round to bed and spend some time with them before he unfortunately passed away. So my dad was both parents. My dad raised me from when I was about 9 years old, 8-9 years old, on his own, single parent in the 80s, bringing up a son. But he instilled a lot of work ethic in me, a lot of good morals and principles, and you know, I've kept them with me. And so when he passed away on the 27th of May, it was like a double loss. It was like a double grief, because he essentially was mum and dad to me. To me, he was mum and dad. So with him gone, it was a massive void. So suddenly I found myself having to deal with funerals and plans and dealing with his house and all his possessions and everything else. Now, June came along and I had one thing that I'd planned in that year, and that was a festival. I know, 47, right, and I'm still going to music festivals, but my wife and I do love to try and go see some bands, so we went to the festival and it was a very surreal experience. I mean, mentally I just wasn't there, but I had some great friends with me, and when I needed, they filled my cup to the brim of love and friendship and everything else, and I felt great from that. So despite the sad times, I was able to at least enjoy myself a little bit. That was the key part. But as June rolled past, suddenly back into normal working environment, right? And so as we progress into the rest of the year, so I'm not making this a half-hour video and keeping it as short as I can, suddenly I found myself facing yet another trial, this time in the form of redundancy from work. So as I mentioned to you earlier, my dad had this work ethic of stay in employment, always do the best. And I've been through redundancy processes in the past, right? So it's not my first rodeo. But this time, you know, facing just out the back of the funeral and grief and everything else, this one hit home. And this time, it was, I guess, me to exit the business. So I found myself in a bit of a negotiation towards the tail end of the year, Christmas, etc. And that was confirmed very late November. For the first time in my 30 years of sales employment, I was going to be out of job and kind of facing down what that might hold for me. Now, that quick news unfortunately turned into something a bit more serious for me, and that was again more health issues. This time I found myself in A&E having chest pains, probably what was a panic attack, and intestinal issues, and again ECGs, and I spent about 20 hours sitting in A&E, never had a chance to see a doctor. I'm looking around the ward and I'm sitting in a corridor strapped up to an IV, strapped up to morphine, strapped up to anti-sickness, all sorts, and really quite fearful for my condition, and looking at my wife, Yvonne, and seeing the kind of fear in her eyes about what was maybe happening. And so I had that time in hospital. In the morning I left, still hadn't seen a doctor, none available. I went home because I felt okay, probably the morphine. But within about 4 days, I found myself back in A&E again, same conditions that hadn't really alleviated. And ultimately what was wrong with me? Stress. Can you relate? So stress, tension, everything else just manifesting in my body, and I just really needed a rest. So I now find myself, I've lost my father, my health issues aren't great, I'm out of job. I'm looking around the UK and thinking, what is here for me right now? What does this look like? What's the future hold? And again, probably for the first time ever, without a job, thinking, what am I going back into? What does new employment look like? What does the job market look like? What does the job market as a whole in the UK look like? And for me, I have a lot of question marks in my head, and that's why I wanted to make a video and say, am I on my own in this thinking? You know, I look around at other YouTubers and what they're making, and I see plenty of discussion points here. And so here I am. It's now my birthday. I'm unemployed. It's the new year. It's 2025. This year, my wife and I, it's our 10th wedding anniversary. My mouth is getting cold from how frosty it is. But we said to ourselves we would do something exciting this year to celebrate. 10 years married, and it's time to go and enjoy ourselves. And I think looking back on last year and seeing everything that went on, my father and the job and everything else, I feel like I need an adventure. So I'm making this channel because they won't all be me just wandering along chatting. Hopefully we can do something fun, and I hope you'll go in that adventure with me. So I don't want to be tacky and say the words, but you know, if you want to leave me a comment below and just say hello, or you want to follow on this adventure, then hit subscribe. I'd love that. I'd love to build this channel and see what this year brings. So, thanks for listening. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this just another guy on YouTube shouting at the clouds in the sky, oh, how bad everything is? Or can you relate?